The news broke like lightning at midnight. Fans were asleep, the city was quiet, and then, suddenly, messages exploded across social media. Wang Yibo rushed to the hospital. Xiao Zhan seen entering minutes later, condition unknown. Nobody knew what happened, but one thing was certain, the sight of Xiao Zhan sprinting into the emergency wing sent the whole internet into chaos. Inside the hospital, the air was icy and too quiet. Xiao Zhan's hands trembled as he reached the reception desk. The nurse barely finished saying, "He just arrived," before he was already walking fast, almost running, down the long white corridor. He didn't care who saw him, what cameras were outside, or what rumors would start. All he knew was that Yibo wasn't answering his phone, and that terrified him more than he wanted to admit. When he reached room 309, he froze. The door was half open. Doctors were inside, murmuring, adjusting machines. He could see Yibo lying on the bed, pale, still, and hooked to monitors. For a moment, Xiao Zhan forgot how to breathe. He stepped inside slowly, the sound of the door closing echoing like a warning. A doctor turned toward him and said, "He's stable now, but he collapsed from exhaustion. He's been overworking for too long." Xiao Zhan swallowed hard. Overworking? That didn't even begin to describe it. Yibo had been filming for weeks, barely sleeping, pushing himself harder than anyone else. Xiao Zhan had warned him, begged him to rest, but Yibo had only laughed it off like he always did. The doctor placed the chart at the foot of the bed. "He should wake up soon. You can stay with him." Stay? He didn't need permission. He pulled a chair close to the bed, sat down, and gently took Yibo's hand. It felt cold, and that scared him more than the machines or the wires. He whispered, "You idiot, why did you push yourself this far?" The room stayed silent. The hallway outside stayed quiet. Hours passed. Xiao Zhan didn't move from that chair. He didn't blink. He watched every rise and fall of Yibo's chest as if it were the most important thing in the world. Around dawn, a soft light entered the room. Birds began to chirp outside the window. And then, the moment everyone had been waiting for happened. Yibo's fingers twitched. Xiao Zhan shot up from the chair, heart racing. "Yibo? Yibo, can you hear me?" Another small movement. Then Yibo's eyelids fluttered, slow and heavy, like he was trying to wake from the deepest sleep of his life. Xiao Zhan leaned closer, barely breathing, terrified and hopeful at the same time. Finally, Yibo's eyes opened. And the first thing he saw was Xiao Zhan's face, inches away, eyes red, expression soft but terrified. Yibo blinked twice, confused, weak, but then the shock of what he was seeing hit him fully. He whispered, voice raspy, You came?" Xiao Zhan let out a shaky laugh. "Of course I came. You scared me half to death." Yibo's lips curved into the tiniest smile. "Didn't think you'd rush here so fast." Xiao Zhan didn't answer right away. Instead, he gently brushed Yibo's hair off his forehead, his voice softening. "You collapsing isn't something I take lightly. You matter. Why is that so hard for you to understand?" Yibo stared at him for a long moment. Something in his chest warmed, stronger than the pain, stronger than the exhaustion. He whispered, "I didn't want to worry you." "You did," Xiao Zhan whispered back. "More than you know." Yibo lifted his hand weakly, and Xiao Zhan instantly grabbed it, supporting it with both of his. Their eyes met and held, the entire room becoming silent again, but this time in the softest, most peaceful way. A tear slid down Xiao Zhan's cheek before he could stop it. Yibo reached up and clumsily wiped it with his thumb. "Hey, don't cry. I'm fine." "You're not fine," Xiao Zhan said. "You work until you collapse and expect me to act like everything is normal?" Yibo tried to laugh but winced. Xiao Zhan immediately steadied him, leaning in closer. "No more pretending. You scared me. I thought something terrible had happened." Listening to those words so honest, so raw, made Yibo's heart squeeze. He had always acted tough, always carried burdens silently, but seeing Xiao Zhan this emotional made him realize something deeply. he wasn't alone. He didn't have to be. I'm sorry, Yibo whispered. I didn't think anyone would worry this much. Xiao Zhan shook his head. I always worry about you. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Yibo stared at their intertwined hands, noticing how naturally his fit into Xiao Zhan's. He closed his eyes, letting himself feel the warmth. When he opened them again, he looked at Xiao Zhan with a softness he rarely showed. Can you stay? Just for a while? Xiao Zhan smiled, small, gentle, and full of relief. I'm not going anywhere. He pulled the chair closer again, but this time Yibo didn't let go of his hand. Instead, he held it tighter, like he was afraid Xiao Zhan might disappear if he blinked. Xiao Zhan leaned forward slightly, resting his head on the edge of the bed, still holding Yibo's hand like it was the most precious thing he had ever touched. Minutes turned into an hour. The sun fully rose. Nurses walked by quietly. But the room stayed warm, peaceful, and filled with a mutual understanding that didn't need words. Finally, Yibo whispered, when I woke up. I thought I was dreaming. You were the first thing I saw. Xiao Zhan looked up, eyes soft. And? Yibo smiled again, this time fuller, warmer, with a hint of shy joy. It felt perfect. Xiao Zhan's breath caught, but he didn't look away. Good, he whispered. Because when I woke up, I thought I was dreaming. You were the first thing I saw. Xiao Zhan looked up, eyes soft. And? Yibo smiled again, this time fuller, warmer, with a hint of shy joy. It felt perfect. Xiao Zhan's breath caught, but he didn't look away. Good, he whispered. Because that's exactly how I wanted you to feel when you opened your eyes. The machines continued their gentle rhythm. Yibo's pulse steadied. His breathing relaxed. And for the first time in a long time, he felt safe, because when he woke up from the scariest moment of his life, Xiao Zhan was right there beside him. It changed everything. And it was only the beginning. The quiet settled around them again, but it felt different this time. Yibo watched Xiao Zhan closely, studying the tired eyes, the messy hair, the protective way he stayed by the bed like leaving wasn't even an option. And then a realization began to bloom in Yibo's chest, soft but undeniable. He whispered, You didn't sleep at all, did you? Xiao Zhan shook his head with a small smile. Wasn't planning to, not until I knew you were okay. Yibo squeezed his hand, a little stronger this time, no longer trembling. You shouldn't worry so much about me. I will, Xiao Zhan replied, every time you pretend you're fine when you're not. Yibo looked away, embarrassed, but Xiao Zhan gently lifted his chin and made him meet his gaze again. You don't have to be strong all the time. Not with me. Those words settled deep inside Yibo, warmer than the sunlight entering the room. He let out a slow breath, almost like releasing a weight he had carried for too long. Then stay with me, not just for today. Xiao Zhan blinked, surprised by the softness in Yibo's voice, an honesty he rarely allowed anyone to see. He pulled the chair even closer, their faces inches apart again. If you want me here, he whispered, I'll stay as long as you need.